Tribe. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone is feeling well. I don't know where that spell of laughter just came from. I do feel good in my spirit though. And I just been thinking about all things. I feel like I'm gonna keep those thoughts to myself. But nevertheless, I greet you all in positive energy. All praise to the Most High, Ashe to the ancestors. And I just been away, y'all. Like, you know, in my meditations, doing a lot of shadow insight, you know, looking at things, kind of trying to like more or less make myself a little bit more available. And kind of like extending my reach and my sight. You know, I'm an empath, so I feel a lot. I feel a lot of energies, and sometimes as an empath, we don't always know what's ours and what's not. So kind of spending time to myself to learn how to read me more. Nevertheless, in my downtime, doing some little reading, little studying, different literature, and I was reading something about Buddha, Gautama. And Gautama Buddha says, if we heal something in the present, we heal the past. And it struck me when I read that, and I began to kind of look into some of the writings of Buddha. And Buddha, he had a different type of understanding of his ancestors, so much so where he said, in one particular instance, we can transform ourselves for our parents, right? And our ancestors as well. So it was like his theology, so to speak, about ancestral connection, it resonated hard with me. With the insight that spirit gives me, it was resonating very hard. So I just began to read, and I came up on some interesting things, y'all. So we're going to jump into it. By water, I connect with spirit through pure intent. So the title of this missive is God, Ancestors, and Descendants. Okay? God, Ancestors, and Descendants. So let's jump right into it. How does God feel in relation to your ancestors? Right? Because that's a big question that I deal with from so many people. They like, well, I don't want to offend God, and I have you speaking about ancestors. Well, what do you believe in? Like, or what do you believe? Or people, you can't figure it out. And it's because you're trying to fit it all on one frequency. Now, first starting with ancestors. What are ancestors in relation to God? First of all, ancestors are not a part of the order of the divine. You do have divine ancestors, but it's a veneration. When our ancestor is considered divine, they put in some work here and they earn that title from God. And it proves itself. When you look in Leviticus 26 and 45, it says, for their sakes, I will remember my ancient covenant with their ancestors, right? And this is a veneration. This is God saying he made a covenant with the ancestors and this is the ancestors of Egypt, right? It's speaking of. It says the ancestors whom I brought out of the land of Egypt in the sight of all nations, that I might be their God. Now I want you to realize, like, your ancestors and God are different. And the proper alignment for your relationship is to always worship God, give honor to the ancestors, right? And it speaks of this. But before we get into this, let's focus a little bit on the veneration of ancestors, right? And what are ancestors made of? What is it? So an ancestor is a person that's connected to you strongly about 500 years back. After that, it leads to your descendants. So a descendant and an ancestor are two different things. Ancestors are always in contact with the descendants, different energies. Now us, we have direct correlation and contact with the ancestors, right? Those are the ones that they're not dated back as far as what descendants would be. See, a descendant, when you look up the word descendant, it pretty much says a seed or a plant. So a descendant would be the progenitor of your bloodline or your culture, so to speak. They were here long before your ancestors. Now your ancestors, they are the ones that would be more closer to your natural existence or your human experience that you're going through right now. So God establishes a covenant in this particular scripture, 26:25 Leviticus. For their sakes will I remember my ancient covenant with their ancestors. So this is something that God establishes with those before another sector or arrive. Like, so it will be you, so to speak. So before you got here, God established a covenant with ancestors, right? These would be considered high vibrational ancestors, but they are not a order. They are not, their origins do not lie in the order of the divine, only except by veneration. See, the orders of divinity are archangels. Like that's what they are. Like Michael, Gabriel, Phanuel, Barachiel, like Raguel, all of these angels, the order or the cherubims, or all of these different orders of angels. Now they are orders of the divine. They are divine creations. They are what God made in that aspect. Ancestors, they different. They not the same. It's not, yes, they are divine, some of them, only by way of veneration. Like for instance, when you think about Samuel, right? Samuel, and I speak of Samuel because Samuel shows up in religion, Judaism, and Christianity, and he bears at least 7 to 9 venerations. When you look at his soul, they look at Samuel from Islam, Judaism, Christianity, they all see him. Why? Because he showed up. His venerations was in all three races or cultures, right? They all seen him from a different aspect. So his soul, it bears that veneration. That's his order of the divine. It's not the same as Michael. Michael is a different energy. That's an order of the divine. All right. Now, I want to go and point out this because I'm breaking this down through the Bible so that you can understand it through the Bible, because most people, they have a problem transitioning from the clauses of the Bible, right? Now, it's a lot of relevance in the Bible. That's why now, and I want to show you where we make an error. See, if you believe in anything you believe in and it causes you to knock anybody else's way of perceiving through religion, you already wrong. And I'm going to show you why. Through the Bible. Romans 13, right? It says, let every soul be subject unto higher powers. For there is no power but God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Now, I want you to really see what they're saying. God and the powers are two different energies in this text. It says, let every soul, when we deal with soul, we always talking about ancestral and descendant. Soul. Spirit is of divine order. Soul is talking about what a lot of people would consider where your vibrations live. Self, indulgence, desire, all of these things. They live in the soulless aspect. So it says, let every soul be subject unto higher powers. Now, the NIV version, it says something different. It says submission to higher authorities, right? So either way, we're talking about powers or authorities, but we're talking about an energy that exists outside of God. Now it says, whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God. That's saying your ancestors. See, it's talking about powers that God ordained to be moving, not God himself, but powers. See, it says, whosoever resisteth, therefore, it says, whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive unto themselves damnation. See the way that energy, it's like you usher yourself into a place of damnation when you resist the power and the ordinance. It's not saying God. If it was talking about God, it would just say every soul is subject to God. It's not saying that. It says the power that God has ordained, right? Again, we back to what? Archangel Michael, high vibrational ancestors that have veneration and divinity. These are the powers that God has ordained. So when you walk around, now, why would God create an ordinance? God create everything in order. And that's why a lot of your prayers don't get through. You pray amiss. You don't even follow the order that's laid down. It's an order, right? Like, sometimes I wonder what makes us, right, when we clearly unworthy of certain things, what makes us have the attitude that we can just reach the divine without following the order. That's why a lot of us don't know who we are, because you're not even resonating with the instructions that your own Bible is telling you to resonate with. Remember the ancient covenant that he established with your ancestors. Are you rocking that way? Are you doing what your ancestors did? A lot of us, we listen to disquieted souls, right? That's what we go in and we don't understand. So if you don't understand and you begin to move, what are you listening to? Disquieted souls? Remember, at the beginning of this missive, I said, Buddha said, to heal something in the present is to heal the past. Now, when I deal with my downloads, the ancestors let me know it's descendants and ancestors, and they locked in places of suffering. So if you don't reach your apex, right? If you don't reach your purpose that God has for you, you don't free them. They can take, if you resist that power, like it says, you receive unto yourself the same damnation that they receive unto themselves. Because that's part of your battle, to free your bloodline. Like, you know how many people came before you, right? And some of your beliefs that's limited, they shared them. Now they reside in places in the Yama where they locked up, they suffering, they do to repeat the same human experience. Why? Because they transition with all this karmic debt. When you have debt, karmic debt, you either gonna come back here again, reincarnate, and try to reach your purpose again. And it gets worse every time, they saying. Like, some of us, we live our lives in situations because we reincarnated here with debt that hasn't been paid. And we wonder why self-discovery brings so much freedom and liberty. It's because it's what you meant to do. It's who you are. It's the highest, like, for instance, you were a defender of humanity in a past life. So you reincarnate here in this human experience. Your goal is to reach that apex, who you were. Because doing that, you free up so many that came before you. Even aspects of your own soul that reincarnated and failed and didn't get it right. You free up all of that energy. So for your bloodline that's coming after you and that lived before you, they can now rejoice. That means in the yamas, that's the afterlife, and in this existence, they can now rejoice, all due to what you decide to do with your energy and where you reach. Buddha agrees. Even Islamic cultures, as far as we're ancestors in them, they have the ordinance together. I will admit that. See, in Christianity, a lot of times they knock ancestors altogether. That's demonic. Islam doesn't do that. Now, Islam knocks the worship of ancestors. It's considered shirk. So it's like they don't worship their ancestors, but they real big on honoring them. They have festivals and different things where they honor the forefathers that came before them, right? So that gives them a little more of a more solid connection to the divine. Although from my lens, religion is like a prison for the seekers of wisdom. That's my aspect of it. I look at spirituality. It's a sight that's above religion. It's looking at things from a higher form of consciousness, where I can begin to see the correlations of all religions. I can begin to see the error of all religions. I can see all of that. Why? Because I'm looking at things from a spiritual place, from a place where this scripture comes to life for me. When Romans says, respect and honor those who are in authority, I'm not a person that walk around and say, well, Muhammad was wrong. Well, Jesus was wrong. Well, Red Cloud was wrong. Well, this one was wrong. Well, the Navajos are wrong. Well, all of these traditions are wrong. I don't do none of that, because if it's established here, it's been venerated there. You understand that? Meaning, if a spiritual power exists, even in a religious body, in the 3D, that means that it has an authority and spirit backing it. So to go against it is to definitely go against the order of the divine. Now, what man begins to do with these venerated religions is what draws them away from the divine. And then it becomes stamped with the word known as Ichabod. That means the spirit of God has departed from a thing. See, that's what's happening. We live in a day known as the great apostasy, where everything that God was in is beginning to fall away from God. So God is granting a newer understanding. It has to go that way. That's why we step into spiritual ascension, where we begin. You don't see, thank you, Spirit. One thing that we do as humans, we begin to knock one another when we don't realize we all here together having what's known as a human experience, right? So it's your duty as a person that's evolving or has evolved. Your duty is to meet people where they are at in their understanding and share a spiritual insight from whatever culture they was raised in. Because I can tell you the truth. Every culture that you deal with, if you embrace it with faith and wholeness, it will lead you to the divine. God didn't come here for one race and one people. That's totally absurd for anybody to claim the rights to divinity. Do you realize whatever you see God as, he is above that. She is above that. That energetic field is the most high. It's above every religion. See, what was intended through world religion from the divine, we know that the energy of evil will always pervert the divine. It doesn't matter what you call the evil. Many different names. But it perverts the order of the divine. That's evil's agreement. That's the assignment of evil. You have to realize people think that, you know, evil is this thing. No, you have to begin to comprehend evil as something that was constructed also by the hand of the divine. God and devil, it stems from the same seed. You have to really understand that. Divinity and evil, it's an energy. See, always remember, when God created heaven, out then came opposition. Where the opposition came from. The seed was already in it, negative and positive. That's what makes divine energy. Don't ever forget that. Because if you do, you'll find yourself being handled by evil spirits. They'll have a handle on you. You know where they creep in most? Through a self-righteous attitude. That's right there is thank you, Spirit. That's a big old demon. Self-righteousness. Because see, when people let that energy come in, that's when they begin to tell you this is the only way, that way is wrong, blah, blah, blah. You have to really hear from God from deep within. The energy of healing, right? And I feel like the divine is pushing one through me. Healing is a vibrational frequency, right? And we have to realize this. When you're healing, it's best to remove yourself away from all programs and institutions. All of it. Go, I don't care what it is, right? You may be fighting or dealing with. I'm not saying to take an alternative route about life. We're speaking about the energy of healing, right? True healing is something that comes from God and the energy of the divine. And in order to begin to reach it, one needs stillness. You have to be still. Like when you still and you calm yourself, your spirit, God can direct you to what heals and what doesn't. See, the reports that come from our programming, they hold up our healing. Like somebody tell us to do something. Somebody tell us to go do. Don't do that. Be still and resonate from within. Because God will instruct you to what's here. Every ailment that we have and every affliction that we bear, it has a healing energy. That's an authority over it. And that's period. It's not a evilness, a sickness. It's not one thing that exists to us that doesn't have something that holds authority over it. It's about tapping into what it is. And this is a lot of times where the ancestors become vital to us. Because in your most still vibration and your meditative state, what energy do you think you're communicating with? It surely is not nothing demonic. Unless that's your purpose. Right? If those are your intentions, that's what you're going to be dealing with. But if you're a person and you have directed your heart toward the energy of lightness, when you meditate and you welcome in the vibration of healing and you know, high vibrational ancestors, they be coming to help and they come in to help. They send you things through your intuition. You begin to have a knowledge of even what heals you, right? Because a healer, oh, thank you, Spirit. A healer has to bear the affliction, right? When you a true healer and you have an affliction, that affliction is there for you to heal. Because when you heal it, you'll have dominion over it. And you know how I know it to be so? Healers are often sick. But in the story of a healer, you hear about a dominion over that. Like the healer, is going to get past the sickness. God is going to bring the healer through it. A healer is not a person that heals other people. A true healer has to be able to heal themselves first, and then you heal others. You see, is that real? Like, that's why I'm not real big with people laying hands. How you gonna lay hands on somebody that got something that you never fought before? See, that kind of energy, that you gotta beware of that. And when people lay hands, it's a major transference because it's a surrendering. And anytime you take your spirit, which is subject to you, and you surrender it under the authority of a person laying hands, you ultimately surrender yourself to whatever they bringing at you, whatever their intentions are, whatever spirits mingle with them, whatever lies in the heart of that person, it transfers to you. So it can become a help or a struggle. And is that real? So why take that risk? It's unnecessary. If God has something for you by way of imparting it, right? Even if you feel like, thank you, Spirit, even if you feel like you need somebody to touch you in order, stop doing it by way of your crown chakra, right? You can connect with your hands. That's the perfect way to impart, but it also gives you a way to defend yourself spiritually. Now, when you allowing people to lay their hands on your crown, that's not what you want to do, right? At least give yourself a fighting chance. And if there's something there that needs to be imparted to you from a person, because impartation is a true energy, but learn how to defend yourself. We don't want to just go into things because then we welcome fights and wars and struggles and battles and different things that it wasn't even assigned to us. It comes from another person. And most importantly, the energy of healing, right? And this is important to y'all. So I hope you don't think that this is not important. It is. When you want to create the energy of healing, right? You have to first understand energy, the energy that's flowing through you, right? Many of us don't understand it. As powerful as we are, when we flow through this life, particularly when we become people that people rely on or they need you spiritually, you begin to accumulate residue and dirt on your spirit. Your spirit begins to get you get other energies, and when it gets into your energy, it's there, right? So as much as we want to heal and change, first we have to cleanse spiritually. You have to do a spiritual cleanse. When you're going into the energy of healing, a spiritual cleanse. I have some recipes. They're pretty ancient, but they work. When you cleanse your spirit, right? And a lot of people they don't know the importance of a lemon. A lemon is foundational. When you cleansing your spiritual energy, because as above, so below. When I really want to heal something, I have to clean my spiritual energy. It's a depth of cleaning that many don't understand. We go through our life and we clean our physical bodies and we clean it with soap, right? And ultimately adding to the energy, right? That's bonding us. You need to learn how to do a cleanse with the elements, and a lemon being the most potent instrument, right? I have ginger recipes. All of them include lemon. Root chakra cleanse, solar chakra cleanse, crown chakra cleanse. All of these cleanses, the anahata cleanse, it entails a lemon. And grounding. You have to begin to take your body out in nature, remove your shoes and the things that stop your connection. And this is for true healing, right? You have to allow the earth to absorb and replenish you, right? Even getting next to trees. Because see, these different things that's inside of us, they energies, right? And a lot of us, we hold a lot of them bottled up. and we don't release them because we don't know how. Spirit is giving you perfect ways right now. It's simple yet not simple. How many people really realize when you go out there by the lake and you take off your shoes and you ground right and you stand there and you think and you allow these thoughts or these energies to surface, and you keep in your mind that you're releasing this to the great big old universe, and you're receiving from the universe what you need. This is the mindset of grounding, to release and receive, right? And as you do that, walk over, find yourself a tree, one that looks pretty old. Older trees have older wisdom, right? And hug it. And like keep in your mind that receive and release. Trees have so much to offer. They've been here. You know, a human life cycle to the life cycle of a big tree, it doesn't compare. The same way with stones. Look at the things that exist in the earth from an energetic perspective far longer than us. Their energy is solid. I'm talking about bedrock stones, trees, uncultivated nature where man hasn't passed through. Find those that's the richness of the world. That's the healing energy in the world. No lie. Begin to deal holistically with your ailment. Like look at it from a whole and recognize your own strength. Like I know some of y'all are so strong, man. Like, you know, it's like really believing to see, right? What made, because the program, that's why our spirit is saying we got rip away from because the programming feed us news. That's what it feed us, news. Like, you know, sometimes we go and we get diagnosis, you know, but a lot of the tests that they run, they not even designed. Do you know the average medical test is designed for a Caucasian male around between like mid ages, like 29 to 45? Like, yeah. Even I'm talking about screenings, medicine, all of this is not necessarily compatible with the DNA of everybody. True story. These tests, these diagnoses, these remedies, they are mostly designed for middle-aged Caucasian males. They have no correlation with non-ether beings. So here you are, a non-ether being with the regenerative power. You have the power of regeneration. It runs through your bloodline. Some of us, you can look at some people and you can just see it. Like, you know, some of them beautiful dark-skinned people that's richly, you know, they call it melanin. I mean, that's a word that I still have controversy with. But nevertheless, the essence of life, right? It shows up. Particularly in the dark sector of non-ether beings, right? They bear a richness. It's a regeneration power in that. And it's there. It's about tapping into it. So I kind of got sidetracked because Spirit led me there for a reason. I feel like I'm talking to somebody. But the title of this message was God, Ancestors, God, Descendants, and Ancestors. So I want to tie back in, and I kind of want to leave off with Romans 13:1 again. Let every soul be subject unto higher powers. For there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. The powers that be. Let's get back to that and remember that. The powers that be are ordained. The powers that be. Authorities. Spiritual. Right? They ordained. Now, it didn't say, that's important. Thank you. Because Ephesians also speaks about warring against principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, what's the highest place in a man? Let's dim it down to self, the mind. So we war against spiritual wickedness. The authorities and power. There they go. Again, evil and good. They ordain. That's for my people they so bent on driving the devil out of everybody. Let me explain something again to you. Every soul is subject unto higher powers, for the power, there is no power but of God, head authority. The powers that be are ordained, right? So resisting the ordinance of God, that's telling you right now, stop trying to fight every demon and every devil and stop thinking you so holy and so godly. It ain't about none of that. It's not. Because you can't move something that God allowed to be here. And nobody can lay their hands on you and move it. If God put it there, it's to shape and mold you most likely. You see, we run to people to free us from what God put in our life. And God put it there for you to buckle down, look at it, face it, deal with it, and get past it, right? No matter what it is, a person, an affliction, or addiction, whatever the case may be. Stop running to people and thinking, well, God, this person can move me or help me. No, God put it there. It's demonic, it's evil. So what? God put it there. If he put it there, it's an authority for you to battle it, sidestep it, override it, outmaneuver it. But God ordained it to be there. You do realize that even when you deal with God and devil, because I got to talk to y'all mind like that because of the program. When you believe of God and devil, if the devil had power, then God allowed him to have it. For what reason? Therein lies the will of man. That's why even the Bible tells you it's good and devil. You got a will. That's two powers, right? So I want us to stop looking at everything wrongly, right? Because look, you be out here looking at everything as demonic and you knocking your ancestors and they try and get you to take accountability. And that's real. That's what people doing. And I'm sorry I feel so passionate about that. But that's the truth, man. Like everything is, oh, I ain't gonna do that, I ain't gonna do that. But the whole time, who you think is working with you, who you think is providing you strength and energy and insight, it's the same energy that you run around knocking. And you saying it ain't this and it ain't that. But the whole time, that's the energy that's sustaining you and saving you. That's the energy that really truly validates you in your existence. It's ancestral. They see something in you. But if you don't see something in them, how does that correlation work? Think about it. Imagine that to be chosen by your ancestors, but you knocking them. Remember your descendants as well. And like I said, and I'm going to end off with this. Your descendants, they the progenitors. They came way before your ancestors, right? So imagine you being a person that live in such a way where your veneration go all the way back to your descendants and they proud of you. Think of the energy that you walking in then. May not mean a lot to some, but it should mean something to you. Because it ensures what you after in life, it begins to bring it to you. They have the energy to do so. Remember, every soul is subjected unto higher powers. These things are greater than us. Your descendants, many of them, they venerated in the divine. No, they ancestors and descendants, they not, like I said, they not a construct of the divine. They not necessarily in the order of the angels. But nevertheless, they are powers that be, that God ordained to be here, right? Yeah, some of them evil. Some of them high vibrational. They hit and either one, you're going to draw the support of them, whether you like it or not. So why not purpose yourself to invite high vibrational ancestors instead of running around succumbing to the stuff that we do, addictions, afflictions, impoverished mindset. Like all of this is just inviting the low vibrational ancestors in, unbeknownst to you. That's why a lot of this stuff feels so good. It feels so good because they done it before you and failed at it. So it feels good. And then it says to resist and receive unto yourself damnation. A lot of them went there because it felt so good to get high. It felt so good to have multiple sex partners. It felt so good to speak blockages and funny joking energies into people's lives. It felt good. And I'm just going off of some of the things that I'm feeling. I'm kind of trying to word some of the energies that they flowing in as an example, right? But some of these low vibrational things, they feel good. Drinking alcohol, feel good to go get the bottle and, some of these, think about it. Woo, Spirit just gave me a deep one. You know how you know it's ancestral? If you ever had an addiction of any sort, right? Do you realize that the mind releases dopamine, right? That actually gets you high the minute that you know you can get it. Yeah, is that real? Is that ancestral? They start clicking. Think about it. That drug you want, or that person you want, or that thing you want that you don't supposed to have, that ain't no good to you, but feel good to you. The minute you hang up the phone and get ready to go, you already feel the dopamine. The minute you step out to go get the drug, you already feel the high, the dopamine. You feel the vibration of your ancestral contact with it. You feel all of them waking up that did it before you. Can't wait for you to go do it so they can enjoy it through you. You're going to channel that energy one way or another. It's impossible not to. 12:22 on the clock. You have to. Because they are a part of our existence. Remember, Leviticus in 26 and 45. For their sakes will I remember my ancient covenant with their ancestors. See, God had business with them long before you. So let's begin to understand the importance and relevance of our ancestors, our descendants, and let's begin to put ourselves in a position where we really, really honor God. And we know. So what are we to do, Hierophant? What does this saying do in all of this? I'm going to make it plain and simple for you. The ancestors are to be honored. God is to be worshipped. The minute you start worshiping your ancestors, you take yourself out of the greater authority. Remember, there's a greater authority. Some people don't get that. Some people really like to worship their ancestors. I don't knock them. Do what you do. They still had a God over them. The energy of God, the Most High. It rests over top of the conceptualization of man in this human experience. There's a higher form of conscience that exists over top of us. Some call it God. Some call him Elohim. Some call him Anunnaki. Some call him Orisha. Some call him different things. Orders of the divine. And then you have ancestors. They weren't made in that order. They can be venerated. It's like the energy of Shango. Shango was venerated by the divine, but he lived as a human. He's a powerful Orisha. His veneration came from what he did as a man. So now he's known as a venerated soul and a part of the divine order. So there you have it. Hope that it resonated. God bless you all. We will be back tonight on YouTube, and we have downloads for YouTube. We're going to have fun and exciting time teaching and elevating over on YouTube. We slowly but surely going to make that our main place. Right now, our energy is everywhere. Like, is all over the place. And beware of the scammers. And another thing, Spirit brought something to me. They got these little groups, like these little witch groups or little groups full of all these different type of energies where they steal people's work and they siphon them through. So if you happen to see our visuals anywhere, pay attention to the voice, because I'm hearing that they doing voiceovers and the words don't even, you could tell it's not us, right? But, you know, they'll do anything. When people allow themselves to be driven by entity attachments, they'll do anything. So we all serve notice to them that we're not going anywhere. And behind the scenes, we protect ourselves. So we want to help you to protect yourself. So if you know you linked in with us and you know you growing from what we doing, don't allow nobody to interrupt that. And if you're new to us, get to know us. God bless you.